Hello again, and we're going to take a quick look at a project using the 3D API in Howler, and we're just going to go ahead and get started. I'm using VB5 just simply because I have it installed. Otherwise, we could use something more modern like VBNet or C Sharp. Um, VBNet would be very similar. We might discuss a few minor things later, but I'll just go ahead and do it for now and get started. And I've already created a project. I've created a new project, created a submain. I went ahead and defined pi and pi2 because rotation is in radians. I defined pi2 as 2 times pi, or pi times 2. Basically, a radian is the one. Let's see, pi is basically 180 degrees, so 2 pi would be 360 degrees, and that's why we define 2 pi, or pi 2 rather. I created an object called a variable called r, and I assign an object to it with this statement here, dim r as new VB render. One thing I didn't mention is we go ahead and create a reference to the Howler executable, which I've already done. That's in usually in program files, x86 Howler, and the executable is called dogwaffle.exe. All right. As I said, I create a variable and assign an object to it called VB render. It goes like this: dim. It doesn't have to be called R. It can be anything. One nice thing about this is it gives you this nice Intellisense that helps you pick out and do your coding. Let's see, and we have a lot of objects available to us from Howler, rendering and all kinds of things, color, matrices. I'm not gonna pretend I know how to pronounce that. Matrices. Let's see, vectors, gradients, convolution kernels, keyframes, math, noise types like Perlin and Whirly noise, picture, sprites, sound, image pyramids, aka MIP maps, and a lot of stuff. Not really worth talking about here, but just letting you know we have those things. But we're using the VB render, and that's basically creates a new instance of this rendering class that's part of Howler, calling it R. And so everything we do down here will start with R. Down here I do this r.load geometry. I give it a relative path. It already knows that we're in program files Howler, so we're just going to put geometry / test / teapot. If you need to look at, if you want some geometry to work with, there's a lot of geometry in that geometry / folder. There's also one called geometry / foliage. Self-explanatory. Let's see, and then we go ahead and add a camera, and or rather we position the camera, because there's always a camera, but we position it. I just placed it at 0, 0, 0 in the world space, and no rotation. This would be a zoom of 1.5. I've added 2 lights, gave them color, gave them a position, and an intensity. All right, I went ahead and cleared the screen. There's a global object called dog waffle, and in there is a thing called clear buffer. Real simple to use. It just clears the buffer to the background color, which whatever it happens to be at. I'll go ahead and make it black in there by selecting it as the secondary color. Here we do begin render, r.begin render, like that. And then I do, this is where we can render all of our instances. I happen to use the return value of this load geometry, which returns the instance number. So if we had loaded more than one geometry, we could keep track of the instances that way, or we could just, do it in our head, whatever. We give it a position in world space. We give it a scale, which is 111 in this case. Rotation is XYZ. I'm rotating it slightly on the x-axis. Pi 2 is, as I said, 180 degrees, or really it's in radians, but divide that by 20, so it's whatever 100, or sorry, pi 2 is 360 degrees, and whatever that is divided by 20, and that's it. I'm only rendering one instance. We could do more than one instance inside of here, so if we wanted to make more than one instance, we could go ahead and put them in here like this, and give them different rotations, different placement, that sort of thing. But I'm not going to do that right now. Let's see. And then we just do r dot end render, and then there's a refresh. Not entirely sure we need the refresh. Let's go ahead and keep it in there for now. Press play. It goes, loads up the object, parses it, and renders it. And that is all there is to that, basically. I think we could add some fog too if we wanted to. Let me experiment with that. I've not actually done that yet. So let's see, the parameters are the color. I'll make it kind of bluish. Let's see. And I'll give it a level. See, this is in world coordinates, so the world coordinate in which fog completely envelops everything, or the world distance. So let's try about 6, I guess, or 7. See what happens. Okay, there we go. That was a bit much. Let's see what happens. Okay, there's a little better. Not sure why that had to be 70, but anyways, it's working. We could move these lights around. I might try backlighting this. Let me see. This first light is kind of the yellowish one. Let's see. That's X. That's Y, and that's Z. I'm going to make the Z -5, and I make this one. I'll keep that one +5, and let's see what happens. Okay, that's, well, it's changed anyways. Anyways, that's 3D in Howler. There's one more thing we need to be aware of, and we'll talk about that in the next video. Thanks for watching, and ta-ta for now.